Hi, I'm Brian from DIY Off-Roading. In today's video, we're going to talk about what it really costs to mount beadlock wheels on your off-road vehicle. So stay tuned for that. So in this video, we're going to try to determine, is it worth your time to mount your own beadlock wheels or pay somebody else to do it? So I'm going to go through a few things on it, what the cost of labor is in most local areas versus your time. So I just recently picked up a set of Rock Monster Hutchinson's beadlock wheels, and I had the very same question that you guys may have, is how much does it cost to really mount these up? Is it really worth my time to do this? So the first thing we're going to do is break down the actual time it takes to mount up beadlock wheels. So there's quite a few factors to take into consideration on how much time it's going to take you. One being the style of beadlock wheel you have. So this particular one here is a 3-piece wheel. The most common type of beadlock wheel out there is a 2-piece wheel where you got the main rim and then you got a locking rim, retainer ring that bolts on the outside. This particular one here has locking bolts as well, but it only mounts in the center here. I'll talk a little bit more about this in just a second. So in this case, I'm mounting a brand new wheel on a brand new tire, so I don't have to dismount any tires or anything. When you have to dismount your old beadlock wheels, that tremendously adds a lot of time. And from my experience at working at tire stores, when we had to dismount, just dismount the tires, it could take upwards of 15 to 20 minutes per tire, sometimes even longer on ones that are really stuck. Another factor to consider is if you're going to run tire pressure monitoring sensors on your beadlock wheels, that requires mounting up. On this particular one here, it mounts up on this inner sleeve that goes inside the tire. Also, when you're doing this at home, you got distractions, as you just saw there. Plus, you need to get the vehicle off the ground and get all 4 tires on it. Most likely, you're going to be using floor jacks and jack stands to do that, unless you have a hoist. If you have a hoist, it only takes 10 or 15 minutes to get the vehicle up and get the tires off. If you're doing it at home on floor jacks and jack stands, you can spend upwards of an hour, getting the vehicle off the ground, getting all 5 of the tires off. So the overall process of mounting beadlock wheels is not that difficult. It's time consuming. It's very time consuming. In this case, I have to mount an inner liner inside my tire here, and then put the back half of the wheel on, and then put the top half on, and then bolt it all together with a seal in between. And like I said, not very difficult. You can see here, I just laid the tire on. You've put a little bit of lubrication around the lip of the bead. Put the 2 halves together, bolt it all up. So when you're mounting new wheels, everything's brand new, all the hardware is brand new, but when you're taking your old hardware off, it's very common for bolts to snap off, or they can be broken off from just uses such as hitting a rock or something to snap off a bolt. And that can be time consuming to remove those, drill those out, re-tap them, replace the hardware. All that's time consuming. Also, when you put these together, there's very specific patterns. You need to bolt these all up, and then you have to torque everything down by hand. So you use an impact tool like you see I'm doing here, and you'll run them down until they're snug, and then after you got them run down and snug, then you go back over by hand and you'll hand torque everything. And usually when you hand torque everything, they like for you to do it in multiple steps. So you'll torque it down to a certain step and then raise the torque up and do it again. And sometimes some manufacturers and some wheels like you to do it as many as 3 times in 3 different phases to get it all seated right and locked down. So like I said, this is very time consuming, not hard, but very time consuming. So in my case, I mounted just a spare, and I paid another shop to do the other 4 tires. I did this for purposes of learning how the tire works, how the rim works. That way I'm confident if I have a problem on the trail, I know how to do this swap out or repair it or rebead it. I know what it's like to work with the tire and the wheel. So that's for my reason why I chose to do it. So it took me about 30 minutes or so to mount this tire, and like I said, I did not have to dismount any old tires or anything, so you can expect to spend upwards of an hour or so removing an old tire, putting a new tire on, and retorquing everything down, replacing hardware. If you break bolts or anything like that, all that can add time to your overall time. Like I said, you can spend upwards of 5 to 8 hours mounting a set of beadlock wheels on your vehicle. And then you still may have to take them to another shop to have them balanced, or you may want to run the bead, the balance beads. That's up to you. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how much it would cost you if you were to take it to a shop, a professional shop, and have them mount and balance it. First thing, finding a shop that's willing to do it is pretty tough. Not every shop will mount and balance beadlock wheels because they're not DOT approved for the street. So for legal reasons, a lot of shops won't do it. So most shops have a labor rate that they charge, and they don't really have a standard time for a beadlock wheel. Like I said, there's a lot of factors on what could happen with mounting beadlock wheels, such as broken bolts and stuff. So what they do is they charge you, say they just tell you, if it takes me an hour to mount one tire, I'm going to charge you an hour. If it takes me a half hour, I'm going to charge you a half hour's time. If it takes me 3 hours to mount this, it's going to cost you 3 hours time. So a lot of shops charge anywhere between $100 upwards to $150 per hour, depending on your location. So I paid a shop to mount 4 tires for me, and they charged me right around $300 to mount and balance 4 tires. Took them like 2.5 hours. Their labor rate was $125 an hour. So on the cheap side, I would expect to pay as little as $250 and upwards of $500, maybe $600 to mount and balance upwards of 5 tires on your off-road vehicle. So now you have to ask yourself, is the money more valuable or the time more valuable, and go with whatever's best for you guys. I like to say, if you're interested in a video on these Rock Monster wheels, these are what they call dual beadlock wheels. If you're interested in a more detailed video on that, just let me know in the comment section and I can make a more detailed video on these wheels. So I hope this video has helped you make the right decision whether or not to mount your own beadlock wheels or pay somebody to do it. I'm Brian from DIY Off-Road, and I'd like to thank you guys for watching and encourage you to subscribe.